So today is our first class. It's actually week 2 of the semester, but it's for our intents and purposes, due to Labor Day, it's week 1. I think we can dispense with the introduction. So here's what we're going to do today. We'll kind of look at the course, set out the plan. The course is going to run very similar to the way that our PHP class ran. So not a lot of surprises there. We'll talk about the MVC pattern. We'll look at our technology stack at kind of a high level, and then we'll just do a few light exercises, kind of playing around with web development with Visual Studio and ASP.NET. So nothing too crazy or too difficult for today, just in terms of getting started. Okay. So I have put the syllabus up on D2L. It's here under course information. So I just want to kind of go over the plan for the class and clarify anything that isn't clear and answer any questions about the course. Okay, so by all means, during this little overview, if you have questions, use your microphone or use the chat. Stop me if there's anything that we need to talk about. Okay, so this is kind of our intermediate web programming class. It build on top of the skills we learned in our intro to web programming class where we used PHP. We're going to use a more sophisticated technology stack. We're going to use a Microsoft stack, and their web development framework is called ASP.NET. And we'll kind of look at a bit of the history and evolution of that a bit later in today's class. So we're looking at building dynamic, data-driven sites. One of the cool things about using .NET is we can actually perform object-oriented programming in a web environment, which is quite different from the interpreted nature of PHP. We're going to use relational database instead of using MySQL. We're going to use Microsoft's SQL Server product, which I think you probably have already used in your C# course already. Who was the instructor when you guys had your C# course last semester? Did you have Tom or did you have someone else? Okay, you had Tom for that. And did you use SQL Server a little bit with Tom in that class? Maybe a bit, okay. Right, in a class. So we're going to use it quite a bit, the sort of in the same way that we used MySQL. So we'll take a much deeper dive into it in this course. But the little bit of exposure you had from Tom, at least you've seen it before. You may have the software already running, so that'll be useful. Some of the other things we're going to get into in this class, aside from just ASP.NET and SQL Server, a couple of the other things we're going to include that aren't necessarily part of the curriculum, but I think are great to know. We're going to get into cloud hosting with Microsoft's Azure cloud platform. We're going to do some DevOps work where we're integrating version control and continuous deployment to the cloud. And hopefully we're also going to look into online credit card payments where we can integrate an online payment gateway. We're going to integrate the Stripe system into a .NET application that we build together. So those would be a bunch of add-ons that we're going to tie in to what we're doing. We'll meet in the WebEx room. Everybody's here already. So same link, and we'll use this same link for office hours. I've got office hours Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings from 9 to 10:30. If you need an appointment and you want to have a meeting with me outside of those times, then send me an email and let me know when you were looking for an appointment. And in general, you can book, just like last semester, you can use Calendly to book. So if you need an appointment Tuesday morning, just click and book a 15-minute time slot. Please book only one at a time, so you're not filling up all the time slots. You're leaving some other time slots open for other students. And just another important reminder, if you book a meeting and you don't need it, because let's say you've figured out the answer to your question, solve your problem, please delete the appointment, which will open the time slot back up on the Calendly booking site. It will also remove the appointment from my calendar. So I'm not sitting in the WebEx room waiting for you if you don't need the appointment anymore. So our learning outcomes are here. We're going to be using Microsoft platform to do dynamic websites. We're going to add authentication. We're going to manage user sessions, and we're also going to use objects, OO concepts, and write advanced scripts. We're also going to be integrating unit testing, which I think is something you may have done a little bit with JUnit in one of your Java classes. So we're going to look at how do we integrate unit testing into a web application using Visual Studio and .NET. So we'll have live classes every week except for one, which we'll go over in a minute. So 1 to 4, I do record the classes. You can learn asynchronously, but you're going to get the most out of class and I think have the most engaging experience if you're here Monday afternoons. So obviously we didn't have class last week. We will not have class the week of Thanksgiving. We won't have a synchronous class, but that doesn't mean we won't have class at all. Another change, as I'm sure your other instructors have made you aware, is that this semester you're no longer following the Lakehead schedule for reading week, which is typically the week of Thanksgiving, but your study week, your reading week is actually the same as the Georgian study week, which is the end of October rather than the second week of October. Now, we do also have a couple extra classes, and we're going to use one of them for one extra synchronous lesson at the end of the term to make up for the Labor Day class that we're missing. And the reason is so that we don't wind up losing out on material. We have that extra time. And final exam will be scheduled sometime during your exam period in December. In terms of your grades, be fairly similar to what we had in our PHP class. So we'll have weekly review quizzes, same format to what you're used to. The quiz will be like today's quiz will be available at 4 o'clock, and you'll have until 5 p.m. on Sunday to finish it. Each quiz will be worth 2%. We'll have an all practical final exam. There'll be several different versions of the exam. And again, you'll just sign into the WebEx room. Everyone will do the exam at the same time. So it's not like a take home. I know some of your other instructors might give you 24 hours, 48 hours to do the exam. Our exam will all be scheduled in that same 3-hour block. For the assignment part of your grade, we'll have a few small kind of in-class activities or labs. Those might be, it might be a task in a breakout room or participating in a discussion board post, something small, or a really small programming challenge. And then your assignments, your big project, it's actually one project that's broken down into 4 components. And that'll be worth 40% of your grade. So you'll work on that assignment kind of cumulatively through the semester. Any questions about the grading or assignments? So everything will be due, all your quizzes, all your assignments. Ivan, no, we're not going to have a midterm. There's no midterm exam in your section. And part of the reason for that is because we're losing the 2 synchronous classes. We lose Labor Day. Yes, Megan, everything will be deployed just to GitHub. So for your assignments, all you'll need to do is post the GitHub link and then the link to the live site, which instead of running on the old web server we used for PHP, which was hosted on Amazon Web Services, you'll be deploying your site to Microsoft Azure. And we'll look at doing that in a few weeks. So you'll give me the Azure link and you'll give me the GitHub link. You don't need to zip and upload the files. I will be able to inspect them on GitHub, which also makes it faster for me to mark. So the tools you need here, you probably have most of these. You have Visual Studio already. Everyone's got Git installed and a GitHub account. You probably have SQL Server and Management Studio already as well. And we'll get into the Azure setup in a few weeks. We don't need it yet. So those should be all the tools that you need for the course. So here's our schedule. We should be able to stick to it pretty clearly. So I'm saying today is week 1. So I'm kind of going by which lessons we've got. Okay, so assignment 1 is due in a couple of weeks. I'll give it out at the start of class next week, but the assignment's brief. You don't actually have to build anything. Assignment 1 is really just a project plan that you're going to submit an idea for what you want to do for assignments 2, 3, and 4. So this is just like a short document, easy 5% really. Pretty much as long as you fill out the document, you're going to get your 5%. So the only other thing to note in the schedule is this class. So this is the week of Thanksgiving. So we're not going to be having a live class on Monday the 11th. So what we're going to do, rather than have no lesson at all, this is going to be an asynchronous class. So I'm simply going to record a video lesson, post it in the YouTube playlist, and at some point in that week, before week 6, you'll want to go through the video lesson and add the functionality into your in-class project. So I know most of you tend to come to class every week, and you're here for the live synchronous lessons. So we'll have 1 week where we have an asynchronous lesson. So I'll post the video. I'll let everybody know when it's posted, and you'll just have a week to go through that material and do the work. And you can send me questions by email if you need to. So our study week at the end of October. So we will have technically this is your last week of class, December 3rd to Friday, but because Lakehead gives us a couple of extra days, Monday the 6th and 7th, we will have a class on Monday the 6th at our usual time. So that way we're still getting 12 lessons, 11 classes, 11 synchronous classes, and then the 1 asynchronous class the week of Thanksgiving. Sammy, it is for Lakehead in Thunder Bay, but Georgian has moved to this semester, that those of you in the Lakehead program is now following the Georgian dates, which is new. So yes, in your first year, yes, you would have had, last year you would have had reading week during Thanksgiving, which is the same as the main Lakehead campus in Thunder Bay. But they announced this year, if you're in the Georgian Lakehead program, then you are going to follow the same study week as the college program. So this is new, and it will be the same for you in winter. So your winter study break, instead of being kind of early February or around Family Day, it's now later. Yeah, and I think they partly did it because it was somewhat awkward for faculty like myself or Jarrett, where we're teaching some in Lakehead and some Georgian courses, because we never actually got a full week without classes. Because in the Georgian week, we had our Lakehead class, and in our Lakehead reading week, we still had our Georgian classes. So they've synchronized it now. We may also shuffle a little bit of the content a bit. You guys do have Jarrett for your Intro to Objects or your Advanced Java class, is that right? You have Jarrett this semester? And which course is it? Is it Intro to Objects or Advanced Java?
Advanced Java.
Okay. So Jared and I have talked about this in the past, but we haven't managed to do it yet. The content that I teach you here in building a REST API in .NET, part of your assignment later for advanced Java is actually going to be consuming and working with data from a REST API in a Java application. So we've talked about that we might be able to synchronize the REST API content from this course with the working with JSON content and assignment in Jared's course. So if we do that, I might move this lesson earlier into the semester so that for your assignment in Jared's class, you can basically get the application you're going to build in our class to talk to the application you're going to build in his class, which I think would be kind of a neat, we thought would be a neat project for you to build 2 assignments on 2 totally different technology platforms, but have them communicate. So if we can get that to work, and that's also something that you guys are interested in doing, then yeah, we might move the REST API kind of to here and move the unit testing. So it would shuffle the schedule around a little bit, but we've talked about it before. We've never been able to quite make the scheduling of it work, but I think it would be a cool thing. And then not only could you have, you know, a Java program to show an employer and a .NET program to show an employer, but you can even show how they communicate. So Jared and I will talk a bit more about that, but that may involve a little bit of reshuffling of the schedule, which might also change the due date of assignment 4. Might push it back and give you a little more time if we do that. So that change may happen. I'll keep you informed. I won't go over this stuff too deeply because this is kind of the same as before. You know, try to come to class. If you miss something, use the YouTube stream. If you're learning asynchronously, that's fine. You do need to be a little more disciplined to do that. Stay plugged into your email into D2L because obviously without meeting in person, this is the only way we have to communicate. Please, by all means, reach out when you need help. Things aren't clear, send me an email, book an office hours appointment. Typically, I try to be pretty responsive to email, but I also do try to get away from my devices. So typically, if you email me Monday to Friday, you'll get a response either that day or the next day. Over the weekend, so Friday afternoon or into the weekend, you probably shouldn't expect a response before Monday. So don't leave an assignment that's due on Sunday until Sunday to start. I will be doing other things on Sundays, typically besides sitting at the computer. There are no makeup assignments offered at the end of the semester, so I'm not too concerned about it with this group. I know this is a really smart, engaged, and capable group of students, but if you don't earn your 50 and you earn your credit, you can't submit work in December to pull up your mark. Doesn't work like that. And please submit your stuff on time. Start early so that you have a chance to get help. I'm happy to help you by email, one-on-one appointment. But don't leave it to the last minute. Give yourself time. You should anticipate when you have an assignment, build in some buffer time for bug solving, getting help when things don't work perfectly. This stuff is fairly standard. I'm not going to go over all of it. You do need to do all your own work in the class, okay? And your work will be subject to a code review. So this summer, I only taught 1 course, still had 3 incidents of academic misconduct I had to deal with, 4 in winter. So you can't share your code with anybody else. And you can't copy someone else's work or copy work off the internet, submit it as your own for grades. So you do need to earn a 50. Late submissions will lose 20% per day. 2016 was a disaster, Adil. It was brutal. I spent hours and hours and hours dealing with academic misconducts. My least favorite semester ever. It was terrible. Tons of cheating, students submitting the exact same work thinking I wouldn't notice. Well, I do notice. Yes, it was. In 2020, 7 of these were in my project course. So it's kind of like your systems project course. We have a similar course in the web program. So I had one group of 4 and one group of 3, and they had a big semester-long project, and a good chunk of what they had to do was copied. So all 7 students got academic misconduct for that one project. That very clearly was copied. One group had actually made their repository public and invited the other group to copy it, which they did. That was fun. That was lots of meetings and paperwork for me. Great use of my time. Put me in a great mood. So I would encourage you not to do this. If you do need an extension for a valid reason, you're dealing with an illness, family emergency, things do happen, then by all means, as soon as you know that this is something you're going to need, then please reach out to me and we can discuss something. Okay. But please don't ask for an extension simply because your project isn't finished or you're running into errors and need more time to fix them. So everything will be individual work, outside perhaps of a few of the small in-class learning activities that are worth a few %. Okay, so nothing really new or earth-shattering here in the plan. Anybody have any questions, any concerns about how the course is going to run? Happy to hear from you. Okay, Sam, so if you're async, how would they do them? I mean, if you're learning asynchronously, really just means you're not signing into the WebEx sessions on Mondays. You're watching them after the fact and following along and doing the work on your own. But in terms of the assignments, the due dates still apply. So let's say, you have a part-time job and you get scheduled to work Monday afternoons and you can't join the WebEx sessions. You'd watch the recordings, which will typically be uploaded by Monday evenings. You'll watch the recordings, you'll do the work, and then you're still responsible for doing, the deadlines still apply. So things are due on the same days, regardless of whether you attend the WebEx classes or you watch the lessons on your own time. Asynchronous doesn't mean you can make your own timelines for the course. Just means you're not in the live class sessions. Did I answer your question, Sam? Maybe I misunderstood. Okay, fair enough. So what happens if you're doing asynchronous? If that's the case, then you'll still have the opportunity to do those small activities on your own after class. So let's say I put you in a breakout group and I ask you to, post a solution or make a posting on the discussion board. An asynchronous student can still do that, and they would have until Sunday to do it. So those activities will, even if I ask you to do it in class, yeah, you'd be able to do it on your own and submit by Sunday afternoon. Good question. So if you can't make a class one day and you're saying I'm going to watch the video later, and there's a small graded assignment, you can do it on your own, and you have a week to do it. 6 days, I guess, to do it. Does anybody else have any questions about the class? All right, I will leave this up in case any other questions come to mind kind of through the class. And again, you can grab a copy of the syllabus or reference it on D2L under course info. It's all there for you. All right, 1:30, perfect. Doing okay on time. So on D2L, few items here for you under tools and weekly learning tools and resources. So the link to my WebEx room is here. Got a new playlist for you where I'll upload all the lessons. So if our class ends typically sometime between 3 and 4 o'clock on a Monday, WebEx needs a bit of time to convert those videos to MP4. And then I have to upload them to YouTube, and YouTube has to process them. So those videos will typically be online by Monday evening, sometimes as early as 5 o'clock, sometimes maybe a little bit later. All the work we do in class, I will again post to GitHub, as you're familiar with. The link for booking office hours is here as well. Visual Studio and SQL Server, people probably have already. And just for your reference, as per usual, I've put the Git commands for you here. For those of you who don't know them off by heart, it's here for you as a quick reference if you're going to be pushing files to Git through the command line. Now, Visual Studio has Git integration that kind of we can create and push stuff to Git with a single click. But if you ever want to use the command line, you need to use the command line. I always put these in my D2L course shell so you can reference them. Okay. So we're going to go back. No, Luke, we won't use SQL. We're going to start using SQL Server in lesson 4. So we're going to do an overview today. We're going to deal with controllers next week. We're going to focus on views in week 3. Week 4 is going to be when we get into models and working with the database. So maybe just remind me, I'll go over the instructions of what you need for SQL Server either next week or the week after. We don't really need to worry about it for today. You've got a little while. And if you have issues installing something, you can always book an office hours appointment with me, and I can help walk you through it. Okay, so we're going to do a little research about ASP.NET. I'm going to have you guys do a little bit of research before I kind of give you my own overview. We're going to do this sort of as a small group activity, although we're not going to use breakout rooms for this. This is the kind of activity that I might grade, but it's our first class, so it's not going to be for grades today. So first thing I want you to do, I've created, like I did in our last class, I've created groups. So if you go to the group list in the group menu in D2L, which I think is under other tools, there are 5 groups. And you should see which group you are in. I know your view is a little different than mine. So everybody should be in group 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So have a look. If you need to know which group you're in, let me know and I can tell you. But you should be able to find it on D2L. I think it's under other tools and groups. So check which group you're in. And whenever we use groups in class, you'll just be in the same group for the whole semester. So if you go into your week 1 folder, there's this link, a little research about ASP.NET. If you open this item up, we're going to use Miro.com. It's this little whiteboarding app that we used last semester. So you're going to go to the link, follow the link, open up the board. You don't actually have to log into this. I think I've made it public. Let's go to my map. There we go. So if you are in group 1 on D2L, I want you to add a sticky note, and you can add it in yellow down here. And answer the question. And also put your name on the sticky note. So if you're in group 1 on D2L, your question is, why learn ASP.NET? If you're in group 2, here's your question, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to pause the recording for maybe 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, do a little research online, and try to post an answer to the question assigned. All right, I'm going to resume our recording, and we'll just maybe review some of the important points that you guys have found. And then I'll do a little bit of an overview of my own. So yeah, we're building real-time applications. We can push data. That's right, Luke. Chris said we can build all kinds of web apps, so both APIs and web pages. We're going to do both. And Christopher mentioned one of the most important points of .NET, ASP.NET, is that our code is compiled. So this is unlike an interpreted scripting language like PHP, where the web server has to interpret and run the code each time. With ASP.NET, it was one of the first web platforms where the code was compiled. So binary code is going to run much more quickly. Yeah, Anna mentions control that we have as developers. Preston talks about that it's cross-platform nature, which is true. And we'll integrate with all kinds of popular databases, obviously, thanks to SQL Server being the most common, but other ones as well. So some good links here. The Microsoft docs are excellent. Lots of resources on Stack Overflow. Of course, your resident expert, my YouTube channel, find it on Google. So the official ASP.NET site is great. We can pop over there for just a second. And it's a super easy URL. It's ASP.NET. So pretty much this should kind of be your main go-to when you're looking for something. So not only are the official docs here, so we've got a whole series of tutorials for web, which are excellent. You've got the documentation here as well. And then under Learn, popular learning paths as well. So tons of resources direct from Microsoft. And a lot of this stuff is, or most of it is free. So MVC stands for Model View Controller. And as Austin mentioned, we're separating the UI, the data, and the logic. Kind of, Andreas, a number of you mentioned MVC, what it does. Yeah, it's also, as Ethan said, it's a way of sorting, organizing, and making our code much easier to work with. Well, we'll talk more about this in a little bit. Has anybody worked with any kind of MVC platform before? Like MVC is not native to .NET. It's an architecture style. Have you yet? You could do it in Java. Okay, you are using it in your Java. So some of the patterns should be somewhat familiar to you. Yep, Sam, that's right. Working with a Node.js stack, you're going to use that structure as well. So .NET Core and .NET Framework. Yeah, .NET Framework, as Sammy said, it's only partly open source. .NET Core doesn't have as much functionality. Yeah, so for example, you can't build a Windows desktop application with .NET Core. .NET Core is also newer and faster. So we use the .NET framework for many, many years. It's still around, but Microsoft has really moved in the direction of .NET Core. And we're seeing less and less .NET framework. So years ago, I taught this course with .NET framework, and since 2018, we've been using .NET Core instead. As you can imagine, .NET will integrate very well with other Microsoft services, things like Azure Cloud, as Sam mentioned. Quinn mentioned Signalr. Quinn, do you know what? Can you tell everybody what is Signalr? What does it do? Okay, fair enough. Signalr is like a socket-based communication. So it's used for things like real-time chat, where you can get messages being pushed and updated without doing reloads. And Chris mentioned something like Microsoft Commerce Server. Also integrates really well with things like Office. You know, we're building a web application, but we need to integrate Microsoft Office files. So really easy to do that. SharePoint, and really anything Microsoft makes is going to integrate really well with ASP.NET. All right, so some good answers here. So what you may want to do, you may want to take a screenshot of our board or print it to a PDF, because I'm going to reuse this same board for some other discussions and activities through the course. So I'll keep this up for now, like for this week, but we might clear it out. And yes, Megan, it does work very well with SharePoint. So let's say you have a document library for a company intranet, and you want to be able to integrate it into your .NET site. You can do that quite easily. So yeah, SharePoint would be an excellent one to add to this list. Things like OneDrive will integrate as well. All right, so that's a pretty good list. We've hit on a lot of the main things I wanted to talk about. Kind of, thanks for adding that one, Megan, at a high level. So I think here's what we're going to do. It's 1:48 by my calendar. So I'm going to suggest we take a little break here, get away from our computers for a few minutes. Why don't we come back at 2 o'clock? I'm going to do a little more of an overview, and then we'll actually start to play around with this. We're not going to do any really heavy coding today, but we want to kind of take a tour of the environment, see what an MVC project looks like in Visual Studio, and then look at some of the basics. How do we work with .NET MVC? Okay, so we will take a pause here. I'm going to stop the recording and step away from my computer for a few minutes, and we'll come back and start again at 2 o'clock.